have, oh, thank you. And we have Julie Noble, myself, Lynn Johnson is here. It looks like Kevin McAvoy, Tanya Garman, Marco Spodek, Lorraine, and Sebastian Military. And is Michelle here?
Shoot. I don't think so. But let me. No.
All right, I didn't, okay. I thought she,
No.
right. Okay, so are there, okay, Julie, I'm not comfortable doing the meeting protocol. Do we have to say stuff about Zoom and that it's being recorded?
I can just say that this meeting is being recorded. This is the June 8th, 2021 meeting of the Kingston Conservation Advisory Council. And we ask that everyone stay muted unless you are wishing to speak. And we welcome everyone to the meeting.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so do our guests want any public, let me see, sorry. Yeah, so is there any comments from the guests at this point?
I just thought of something I'd like to mention. Tanya Garment here. Can I go ahead?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Lynn Woods did, I thought, an excellent job at the last Finance and Audit Committee meeting of the Common Council, talking about Bluestone. She focused on Henry Street, and there is a proposal for oh no, sorry, she wasn't at the Common Council Finance and Audit meeting. She was at the Heritage Area and Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission meeting. And she spoke about Bluestone on Henry Street. And there's actually an opportunity to preserve some of that Bluestone on Henry Street, the parts that are intact, maybe relaying them and maybe possibly putting some cement in between them, but laying them in the traditional way. So I mention it here because it's a instance of preservation rather than using cement, which is not the best material in terms of it's not great in terms, it's not a very green material, cement, and we all already have some really great bluestone. In some places it's not in good condition, but what she was talking about was an area that is in good condition. And so the next Common Council Finance and Audit meeting, which is, golly, I think it's Thursday. It might be tomorrow. Sorry, it's the 10th. It's on Thursday. They'll talk about whether to expend a bit more money to reset the bluestone instead of pour concrete. So I thought it might be of interest to members of this group, of this commission. And if you are in favor of it or have any thoughts at all, it's a good time to speak to your alderperson about it directly, because they'll be voting on whether to sponsor it for a larger vote on Thursday, but there's no public speaking.
Okay, thank you.
I could add to that. One thing is that the Heritage Area Commission and the HLPC were submitting a letter to the council in support of that.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. Thank you, Kevin.
I don't have the letter yet, though, so it's still being drafted. The two chairs, Hayes Clement and Mark Grunblatt, are drafting it jointly, I understand.
All right.
And I will just note that the finance meeting is tomorrow night, the 9th at 6:30.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, the next thing is any changes to the agenda. And I do have one, and that is that I wanted to bring up the comments about the Esopus releases, because I did have a little bit of information from the county group that is working on that. So I guess that would be old business. Is
Mhm.
that right? Yep. So, just bear with me a minute. Okay, the next thing is, does anyone else have modifications to the agenda?
No, do you need a motion? You made the motion, I think. I'll second it.
Okay, to have the modification?
Right.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, and by the way, I just want to welcome Lynn Johnson as a former CAC member. And Marco, thank you for attending also. Okay, so now we're going to review and approve the April 21st monthly meeting notes. And I actually didn't look at the minutes, but were there any corrections or yeah, were there any corrections, or is there a motion to accept?
I will just say when I posted them, I did highlight one line under number 4 that wasn't very clear. So that might need.
Oh, yeah, there's something got chopped in the text, right?
Yeah, it seemed like it.
The last one. Yeah. Yeah, I think that whatever, after the number 29, I think that was supposed to go out. Including, I think that just has to be cleaned up.
But I think there's something missing as well, because it says
Yeah,
even
yeah.
after April 29th.
Yeah, I think I'd read it back to you. Tanya's here to confirm whether it's correct or not as well. She sent a communication on April 29th, including a discussion concerning consistency with the open space plan and the comprehensive plan at Hutton Brickyard. That's what we were supposed to say.
Okay,
Tanya, did I get it right? Oh, you're muted.
I'm sorry. I was not here for a second. I missed what you were saying.
Oh, okay. Well, there was I had a typo on something under Hutton Brickyard Development Review, and you sent a communication on April 29th, including a discussion concerning consistency with the open space plan and comprehensive plan at Hutton Brickyard.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Okay, then we got that right. It was just some very,
okay.
And
fuzzy text.
And I mean, that's when the common council, I mean, the planning board knowing about the familiarity with the open space plan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my concern about the planning board's lack of familiarity with the open space plan.
Oh, right.
Should I add familiarity while we're amending minutes? And consistency and familiarity with, does that work?
That sounds, I would think, I would agree with that.
Okay, then we got it.
Oh, righty. So moving right along. Can I have a motion for acceptance of the minutes? I'm sorry, 'cause
Minutes as amended.
as
Uh,
amended.
uh,
Lorraine or Sebastian, Julie? You need to unmute.
Yes.
All right,
Minutes.
Okay, Sebastian's making a motion, and do I hear a second? Okay, Julie, do you want a second, or Lorraine, are you going to second, or,
I'll second.
Okay.
okay,
So just a point of order for the record. I have resigned as chair and Emily has been appointed as chair by the mayor. So Emily is chairing the meeting, thus moving forward. I'm here as city staff and I am
all
non-voting.
right, and you are not voting. Okay, yes, I thank you for making that point of order. Yeah, so now we have members, Lorraine, Sebastian, Kevin, and Emily, and Julie's here as a support staff, non-voting. Thank you for reminding me. So hearing, I think going back to the minutes, we have a motion by Sebastian and a second by Lorraine, all in favor. Aye. And Lorraine
Aye.
and Sebastian,
Aye.
you have to unmute or show
Aye.
your hand.
Aye.
Okay. So it looks like it was unanimous. It was unanimous. Okay. Now, the next order of business is old business, and we could do the Ashokan release next, I guess. And so I just want to, sorry, my mouse is not working very well. So can someone, so I'm going to put the Ashokan down to the bottom, and let's hear from Wood Smoke Air Quality Committee. And the first thing is just a general report.
Okay, thank you, Emily. I have something I would like to read, and that I would request that it be added to the minutes. To the City of Kingston Conservation Advisory Council. For the last 6 years, I have been researching and reporting about the growing body of evidence demonstrating that wood smoke pollution presents a rising threat to both public health and to the environment. I have researched other communities' responses to this type of pollution and forged relationships with many scientists and physicians who have educated me about the tremendous health and environmental threat this poses, and about the demographic evidence that residential wood burning is now eclipsing most other types of particulate matter pollution in most parts of the country, including the Northeast and in the developed world. Developed countries have choices. Wood burning is not a necessity, especially for what Yale University scientists have termed recreational purposes. As development proceeds in Kingston, new residents and developers have come here believing they can burn wood without any limits or regulation. They have no idea there is a City of Kingston anti-pollution code, and the city has chosen not to inform them of this despite the science that wood burning severely degrades air quality. The research I have presented to the CAC has resulted in a comprehensive CAC air quality website, an educational brochure with reference links and multiple educational interviews, including one with the Ulster County Health Department and another with John Bowermaster. It has also resulted in a city and CAC partnership with Bard College Center for the Study of Land, Air, and Water, called the Kingston Air Quality Initiative. These initiatives have reflected well on the city, yet there is only the appearance of action. Despite these advances, and despite numerous residents expressing concerns about wood smoke pollution in their neighborhoods, it has been disappointing that the CAC has not been willing to advise the city to act on this science. It's been my experience that the prodigious volume of peer-reviewed science I've presented to CAC over the last 6 years has not been as readily accepted and respected as the science regarding other matters the CAC has taken up and acted upon. Matters of water quality are, for example, routinely and quickly acted upon. The scientific literature on wood smoke pollution has not been considered compelling enough for the council to advance such initiatives as the city sending a mass mailing informing residents about the anti-pollution law and the city code, chapter 135, part 1, 4, 7, and 8, or surveying residents about concerns they may have about wood smoke pollution they're experiencing, or advising a moratorium on new installations of wood burning devices, despite the numbers of communities I have reported about having taken this step in order to stem the tide of worsening air quality. Recently, a letter advising the planning board about the need to adhere to the anti-pollution code in advance of their approval and permitting of the Hutton Brickyard project and advising them of the science behind this was not sent. This development has plans for 42 wood burning fire pits, as well as a huge wood burning oven and a 6,000 square foot restaurant. And ultimately, the city, though it seems to be proud to claim this body of work as its own, has never enforced the anti-pollution code. Over time, as I continue to report on new scientific research, I've been asked to stop educating members as they felt they were educated, quote unquote. Despite this statement, the above initiatives were not supported. I have also been told that the topic of wood smoke pollution was not appropriate as the CAC could not be seen as quote unquote advocating. In fact, it's the very purpose of the CAC to advocate for and advise about matters of the environment. Some members seem clearly conflicted about wood burning and have admitted biases that do not allow them to carry out their stated mission. The CAC is charged with conserving our natural resources, of which air is the most vital, as well as enhancing and protecting the environment and advising the city and planning board so that sound environmental decisions are made. The air quality mission statement charges the CAC to ensure that clean air is preserved and improved sustainably, as well as providing equitable access to clean air for all residents' protection. New residents to Kingston are seeking the environmental pleasures that a beautiful city such as ours can provide. These include protected lands, clean water, and the most basic, clean air. If the CAC does not move with conviction to advise the city to enforce Chapter 135, Parts 1, 4, 7, and 8, according to the science, it will be complicit in the creation of the very environments these people are fleeing. Kingston will no longer be distinguishable from larger urban areas where residents cannot recreate outdoors without compromising their health and cannot even protect themselves in their own homes from particulate matter. And it will be contributing to climate change in a significant way through the emission of black carbon into the atmosphere. Wood smoke pollution affects everyone, not only medically sensitive residents, and we cannot with conscience expect the most vulnerable among us to have the financial capacity to fortify their homes simply to be able to breathe. It has become increasingly evident that the CAC is not motivated to fulfill its charge as it relates to air quality. I am tendering my resignation from the CAC effective immediately. And I just request again that this be read and included in the minutes. Thank you.
Lorraine, can you send that to me?
I will do that, Kevin.
I can do that. I had a hard time typing as fast as you were speaking.
Of course, I will send it to you. And
Yeah, I'll include it in its entirety.
yes, I will send it to you. And I'm signing off. I'll say goodbye to you all.
I'm sorry. Thank you for your service, and we have to accept your resignation. All right. So I guess, does anyone have any comments, or should we proceed with the agenda?
That's unfortunate.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna move forward just to say that it's unfortunate that Lorraine felt she had to resign. And do we have a report from the BARD group, either through Marco or Julie?
Not really at this point. We are commencing data working group meetings and kind of trying to come up with the best way to consolidate all of the data we're collecting at both on campus and in Kingston for ease of access. We're working with some Kingston community members on this, and as well as a community member in Tivoli. And there will probably soon be live data streaming on the BARD website, similar to what we have on the city website. And no, we've collected a lot of data at this point, so we're just starting to sort of come up with an organizational structure for processing it, QA, QC, cataloging, and creating a repository. So that's kind of what we're working on.
Okay, thank you, Marco. Can you say more about the community members you're working with, or is that?
Yeah, I mean, we've been working with him, and Julie is familiar, but Owen O'Connor, he's just helping us with some of the data wrangling. He's just really good in our studio and stuff like that. Yeah.
All right, so these are not necessarily members that are providing their homes for measuring or
No.
on any kind of committee to investigate wood smoke.
No, just lending their time to helping us work with the data.
Okay. All right, thank you. The next item is the letter to the planning board regarding wood smoke. And I believe that was because we had drafted it and talked about it and agreed to send it out between the last meeting in April and this one, that we are now acknowledging that letter was sent.
Yes.
And okay. So that's just acknowledgement that the letter was sent. And I guess I would say that the first letter went out was the wrong letter, and that was withdrawn, and the new letter was sent in a timely fashion. And I guess I would say, has anyone received any comments or information or any feedback from the planning board? Has anyone been contacted by the planning board or anything about that?
I haven't gotten any reply.
Okay, is there any other action that people would want to take in regard to the communication on the wood smoke? Okay, and this was basically in regard to the wood smoke in general and the law in Kingston, not for a specific property or business or anything else. Okay, the Green Fleet Policy and Anti-Idling Legislation Review. Julie, do you have that?
Yes, so as you know, at the last meeting, we went over and the CACs supported the Green Fleet Policy and anti-idling legislation. This is just a follow-up to let everyone know that has now been submitted as a communication to the council with the support from the Conservation Advisory Council and Climate Smart Kingston Commission. And that policy is on the laws and rules meeting for this month, which is June 16th. It was also requested to be put on the finance meeting and has been determined by the common council president that it should go to finance after laws and rules. So it will either go, depending on the action they choose to take, it will, if they advance it through laws and rules, it will either be a special finance meeting or a finance meeting in July. And the reason it needs to go to laws and rules and finance is that the policy itself would be adopted in laws and rules. However, the policy has a fine affiliated with it. And so that would need to be adopted by finance. So I will report back on that. You can also keep your eye out to the council agendas and meeting minutes to see how that goes. And I want to thank Ellie Gartenstein for working on that.
Yeah, and thank you. And so I didn't catch the part that, is there going to have to be a second meeting of laws and rules about this, or it has to go just one?
One meeting of laws, and well, depends on the action that they take, if any.
Yeah.
So
So laws and rules first, then finance. And then it would be voted, go to the common council.
if it passes through both of those, yes.
All right. So where, is there a place we can see that policy?
I can circulate it. The policy itself is internal.
Okay,
But the anti-idling legislation is what they would actually be voting on. But I can
Okay.
share the policy with you all. I can make a note of that.
but, okay, because we went over it and made suggestions, and then there's been,
Yeah.
and now there's a more final
Yes,
policy.
sure, yeah.
And the anti-idling legislation is what they will vote on, and that is definitely part of what we were concerned about with air quality and with climate impacts of having vehicles idle.
Yes.
Okay, and then the next item is EVCS violation proposal.
So that is also related to air quality in terms of the promotion of the use of electric vehicles. So the city currently has multiple electric vehicle charging stations on municipal properties that are currently financially supported by the city, so that there is no charge when folks park there to plug in their electric vehicle. There's no, let me restate that. There's no charge for the electric. If it is in a metered lot, they still have to pay the parking meter. These were installed, all of them were installed with Department of Environmental Conservation grant funding, and each of the grants covered the electricity for the first several years. And for those grant charging stations that have completed their grant funding, the city is still paying for that electric. So we have 4 or 5 stations around the city. And up until now, we haven't had any law on the books that permitted our parking enforcement to ticket parking violations in those spots. So if a person in a non-electric vehicle was parking in that spot, we did not have legislation on the books to give them a violation for doing so. And we did develop a warning system where a warning note was placed on their vehicle, but it was never affiliated or associated with any kind of actual fine or violation. In 2020, I believe, New York State Senate passed a bill, S6836, which related to parking in electric vehicle charging spaces, which permitted municipalities in New York State to enact legislation that it was a ticketable offense. We now, as a municipality, need to pass that legislation. So I submitted a communication that is now on the Laws and Rules meeting for June 16th of this month, for the council to review the legislation. This again will be on both Laws and Rules. Well, will be on Laws and Rules on the 16th, and then the council will decide whether to put it on a subsequent finance meeting, because they will need to vote on the legislation and then separately vote on the actual fine. The fee structure is the same as, it's consistent with the other fee structures that we have for parking in a bike lane, other parking infractions.
Mhm.
So should this be the case, we have a ticketable offense for people who are misusing electric vehicle charging stations.
Okay, so just for the record, EVCS stands for electrical vehicle charging station parking, and this is about a parking violation.
This is about a parking violation, but the relevance to CAC is that when non-electric vehicles are parking in electric vehicle charging stations, it doesn't allow electric vehicles, it discourages electric vehicle users from being able to use and park in these areas. And we want to be able to promote that as much as possible so that we can reduce our fossil fuel emissions.
So, and so that we can just be informed about this, or we can send some kind of memorializing letter to the Laws and Rules.
Yes,
So that would be up to us.
yes,
And you as this proposal is coming through you as the sustainability coordinator.
correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So are you also informing Climate Smart Kingston?
I will say the communication has already been sent. So as with the anti-idling legislation, the letters of support were sent with the communication for that. This would be sending it after, which is fine. That's up to you all to decide whether or not you want to do that.
Because today's the 8th, and this is going to go in front of them on the 16th.
Yes.
Does anyone have any comment or?
And also, just for a point of order, could be sent to the full council, because the full council, should the Laws and Rules Committee pass this forward, the full council would need to vote on it eventually, whether that's in July or August.
All right, does anyone want to take any action on that, Kevin or Sebastian?
Sure, yes, we can send a letter. I would sort of need just a template or something to do this, so that, we get the language correct. I imagine there is one already, Julie, looking around, maybe from another board or commission.
For this particular action, or
Yeah, we just want to get the language so that we have the language correct. It's a technical thing. It's not like we don't support it. It's
Yeah.
like if we do
Yeah.
support it, we want to make sure we support it correctly and
Yeah.
we're not shooting
Right.
off at
Yeah,
the hip, so to speak. Yeah.
I can send you the communication that was sent to the council.
That would be great, and is the actual language in that?
Yes.
The language of the violation and the ticketing, or the
Yes.
fines.
Yes.
And so
as well as the state law is included in that.
Right. I think I picked that reference up. Okay. So, and this needs to be done prior to the 16th or ASAP preferably, right?
Yeah, so we would have to, first of all, we need to hear from Sebastian to
Yeah, sure.
decide if we're gonna go
Okay.
through with that, and then we would have to agree that we could send that letter between that in the next week.
Yeah, I agree with this. I'm also just with Lorraine leaving, are we still able, we can't meet quorum, can we? We only have,
Well, at the start of the meeting, the membership was 4.
okay,
Quorum would be 3.
3. Okay,
So you have
Uh,
quorum still.
okay. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, and we probably don't know if we're gonna have to take any other action like this, writing a letter or something until we get through the rest of the agenda. But it seems doable right now that we could write this letter. And I think that Kevin volunteered to draft it.
Yeah,
But
I'll get that
if-
organized. As long as
Okay.
we get the materials, it'll be a 1-pager. I don't think we're gonna write the whole Megillah for
No.
this.
I will send that out tomorrow.
Okay.
Could someone remind me who's head of laws and rules?
Laws and rules is Jeffrey. Jeffrey.
Okay, thank you, Tanya. So, Tanya verified that. Okay, in terms, okay, we're gonna talk about open space planning, and I need to go get a battery for my mouse. Can we just take a short intermission and break? It's 6:41, and could people come back at 6:45? Maybe get a drink of water so it's so hot, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. While we're doing that,
Hey, Kevin, I'm actually going to get out of here, I think. Um,
okay.
but I will see you guys next month.
All righty. Well,
Yeah,
catch
take
you
care.
then.
Hi, Marco.
Bye, guys.
Here, Marco. Oh.
Okay. And I'm gonna just, I think making sure Sebastian is back. And there was one more thing on old business, and that was the Ashokan release.
Mhm.
And I'm basically reporting back that the Department of the Environment sent out a letter to people that have been working on the comments to this. And there is a group called the Ashokan Release Working Group who have been a technical review team, and they are compiling and organizing comments. And they basically are going to try to make sure, first of all, whether or not we submitted comments outside of the Ashokan Release Working Group, and also that they're, collectively submitting comments that address the range of flaws in the draft environmental impact statement. So the survey is basically, I was just going to answer the survey. They want an answer today that just says that we sent a pretty generic letter, and then, I could provide that letter to them, but we as the CAC did not do anything really specific or technical, but did address our concerns about the turbid releases. So this letter came through the Department of the Environment, and the Department of the Environment are going to be looking at all the results of the survey, and then they're going to continue to compile the information so that they can make the deadline of December 16th for the New York State DEC's comment period on the release. And by the way, this technically is called, the draft environmental impact statement for the modification of the Catalum Speedies permit. So does anyone have anything else about that they wanted to report back on the release or the letter or any other?
Well, do we want to, as the CAC, submit comments on this?
No, because we already sent a letter to the.
Yeah, right.
We
did
already
that.
sent a letter to the DEC. So all I'm going to tell this working group is that we sent a letter and that we don't have.
Okay, that's that. We're not doubling up on it. Okay, that's
No.
Okay.
And they just at least want to know that we did that. And I assume that you, anyway, that we probably didn't copy the Department of the Environment when we sent that letter.
No,
Okay.
and the council also passed the memorializing resolution.
Okay, that's good to know. Right, okay. All right, moving on to the open space planning. So what we have is 4 things. I'm going to mention them: community preservation plan grant, city-owned property opportunities, open space index, and tracking progress. So Julie, do you want to talk about the grant?
Sure. So in between the last CAC meeting and this CAC meeting, an opportunity presented itself that the city was interested in submitting a grant proposal to the Department of Environmental Conservation's Hudson River Estuary Program Local Stewardship Grant Program. The city has been a recipient of the Local Stewardship Grant Program in the past. Our natural resources inventory was funded with that funding. Our open space plan was funded with that funding. And so as the next step, and in support of work that the city has been in communication with Scenic Hudson and Town of New Paltz and Kingston Land Trust and many other partners, we were interested. The city did submit a grant proposal to fund a community preservation plan. And in the interim, I did reach out to Conservation Advisory Council members to, as the CAC has been integral in the role of participating in and advancing the natural resources inventory and open space plan, to see about a letter of support from the CAC for this proposal. There were many letters of support received. We actually got 13 letters of support for that grant, which is a lot. And those ranged from Scenic Hudson, Live Well Kingston, Friends of Historic Kingston, Heritage Area Commission, Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission, Climate Smart Kingston Commission, Kingston
Nathaniel
Land Trust.
Booth. Nathaniel Booth sent one.
Kingston Land Trust, Kingston Preservation Inc. An overwhelming amount of support, which is fantastic. And so in an email communication, there was unanimous support from the CATC members to submit a letter. It was submitted, and as a formality, I would request that you all officially retroactively approve that submission of that letter. I would just note that we also submitted for another grant for river access, or for river access, to put in a new kayak dock. It feels as though there was this is going to be very competitive, and I will say competitive in two different senses. One is that I think we stand a good chance because we are well aligned for this grant, but also because we had an incredible amount of support. But I think it's also competitive in the fact that the city alone received more than half a dozen requests for letters of support for other organizations that were also submitting for local stewardship grants. So I think a lot of folks have felt like 2020 wasn't a real big grant year, and now like this is the time that everyone wants to apply. So that I think it is going to be a challenge, but I think that we are in the running. So either way, should we be successful, the community preservation plan will take, so the grant will hire a consultant, just the same way we hired a consultant for the NRI and the open space plan. And that consultant will take all of the plans that the city has, pull them together, digest those, and basically develop an open space index and identify by the parcel level the priorities for how we would create an open space, a community preservation fund, and such fund would then support the preservation of the lands identified in the community preservation plan. The sort of caveat to this whole thing is that municipal employees are able to work on the plan and advance the plan. Can be a municipal plan, but the fund itself and the action of creating the fund needs to happen through referendum, and it needs to have a campaign affiliated with it, a very robust campaign, and municipal employees cannot participate in that. So should we be successful, I will be advancing with all this team of support, the plan. But once the plan is done, we as a city have to hand it off. So that's why having all this community support is really key. And it's
Is there a
timeline? Let me just finalize that with the timeline. The timeline is ambitious in that we hope to have it on the November 2022
to vote?
Mhm,
To vote?
mhm.
Wait, that's only, wow, that is very ambitious.
It's very ambitious, particularly because the announcement to the grants doesn't even come out till December of this year.
So
However,
then-
the ideal would be to get it on next year's referendum because that is a governor's election year and the most people come out to vote.
Mhm.
So that would mean a very aggressive timeline of an award in December, contracts through the early winter, writing the plan, or community engagement in the late winter, writing the plan in, and completing that whole process by June in order to get it on, to move it between June and November through the Community Preservation Fund process.
And the plan would actually produce the open space index, so that would help the CAC move forward on that task of the CAC.
Yes, and I would suspect that the CAC would play a really important role once the fund was, should the fund be successful, once the fund was created, in
Mhm.
the enactment of how those monies are spent towards those identified priorities, which would be established in the community preservation plan.
Would the CAC have a role in working with the consultant?
Yes, I would hope that that would be the case, particularly because there's so much institutional knowledge on the CAC with the
Mhm.
process. So yes, I would hope that that would be the case.
All right, and did you apply for a certain amount of money?
I applied for the full amount, which is $50,000, and that then necessitated at least a 15% match, and I think I put in for a 25 or 30% match. And match time was a combination of my staff time, Emily Flynn, who's the health and wellness director, her staff time, and she and I would be a tag team on advancing that plan. And then volunteer time from members of these other community groups. And I would ask folks to log their time on helping out, which is the same process we did for the natural resources inventory and open space plan.
Okay,
Well,
so
the language,
ahead.
I'll clear the language up. I just want to make sure the grant request is $50,000, which requires a match. And is there a percentage for that, or did I miss it? Or did we want to let it go?
You don't have to let it go. Let me just look it up while we're sitting here. We can move on. I'll let you, I'll look
Yeah,
it up.
you don't, if it's not, it doesn't have to be in the minutes. If it's not discussed, let's
Yeah.
just, we can move on.
Yes, there is a
I
match.
wanna- yeah,
There's a
wanna make sure
required
I-
match of at least 15%. We exceeded the required match.
Right, okay.
So
Just
at
gonna
least
put-
15 is good enough.
Yes.
Of at least.
Okay,
50.
so
Okay, we got it.
So we can go ahead and approve, or we can vote on approving the letter of support. And then we could continue to talk about this. But I do have that point of business that we do have to approve the letter. And I also had a point of order question was, did we have to vote on the letter that we sent to the planning board in this same period? Because you said that we needed to accept that open space letter, the community preservation plan letter.
Yeah, I think it's important for you all to vote on the retroactive sending of that letter, the community preservation plan letter.
Yeah, definitely.
So why don't you, if you're gonna do that first, and then we can talk about the wood smoke letter.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve retroactively the letter that went in support of the community preservation plan grant?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to ratify.
Okay,
I'll second.
do I hear a second? Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
And Sebastian, you have to say aye. Okay,
Aye.
thank you. Thank you, or nay, sorry. Okay, so that passed unanimously. Kevin?
Yep.
And
So as far as
So
the
it sounds-
wood smoke letter, we had already voted on that at the previous meeting.
Thought so. yeah.
okay. That's fine. That's fine. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay. Any more questions or comments on the community preservation plan? Okay, it seems to me that we really just have to watch, and I guess we could kind of think about how this, referendum would happen, and, or, we don't have to take the lead on that, but, or, we with anticipation of getting awarded, or we could wait until December and see what happens. It sounds like it's very ambitious because we have to hire a consultant and do all of that and then get the plan done and then go forward on it. So, okay, so it's really December 2021 and then 11 months to the referendum potentially. Okay.
Yeah, I'm hoping that because there is so much interest
Support.
and because there haven't been awards in a while, that maybe the state will move forward the awarding of these grants, but we are at the mercy of whenever the state chooses to do so.
Yeah, was the Kayak Grant also part of the, submitted as local stewardship opportunity?
That was submitted as river access
Oh,
also.
river access. Okay, that's a different, yeah, category. Okay.
Different category, same funder.
Yeah, I know that the Hudson River Watershed Alliance submitted an application to this. I don't know if you'd heard that or spoke to Emily Vale or not, but I think she did submit something.
Emily Vale submitted one through the local stewardship.
Yeah, right. And I held off speaking to Melissa Everett or Andrew Wilner after the climate smart thing because
right.
that was going to be another competing thing. And
Yeah.
I didn't want to get into a complicated discussion with Melissa over, supporting this when we have an important initiative here that we're working on.
Yeah, I will say just an update on that is that since it did come up at the last CAC meeting, is that Melissa, Sustainable Hudson Valley, as Kevin is mentioning, was interested in advancing a Roundout River Port initiative with Andrew Wilner that Kevin's mentioning. She reached out specifically to the city to see if we would write a letter of support and said to us that their submission of their grant was going to be contingent on our letter of support. I forwarded that to Kristen Wilson and the mayor, Kristen, who has been coordinating a lot of the waterfront initiatives along with me, and the mayor, of course, who would need to be in support of signing off on it. Melissa and Andrew presented a concept letter to the city, and ultimately we decided not to write a letter of support. So my understanding is that they did not submit the grant.
Okay.
And the decision was based on not having enough clarity that there would be enough differentiation between the current existing work and what they were proposing. So we're going to continue the conversation with them, but and I can't speak to whether they did or not. They told me they weren't going to submit the grant. Maybe they did, I don't know. But there was discussion among the city on that as well.
Thank you for clarifying that. In terms of my activity on that, it just was a bad week in terms of paying attention to the many things that were going on. So I didn't follow up strongly with Melissa's request. And I also, since we are talking about the local stewardship planning, the Ulster County Department of the Environment also applied to do an Ulster County Natural Resources Inventory and Cloud-based mapping platform project. And so that was, the EMC put in a letter of support for that. But that is really interesting that they would do that county-wide. I didn't attend the EMC meeting, so I only know about it from the minutes.
I'll check the minutes on that. That was a cloud-based GIS mapping.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, but it's also a natural resources inventory, and the cloud-based mapping is great because I mean they already have information in the cloud about other natural resources information. I guess by on the cloud, it means the internet. So, so, and a municipal toolkit. So that's great in the sense that, many of us on the MC have done natural resources inventory, and I don't really understand the implications for that in terms of other municipalities having to do something just for themselves, or if they can use the county. Yep.
Yeah, so I will just say, I think that there is definitely a strong presence from Kingston, if not the Hudson Valley, in this application round. So should anyone be successful, there's definitely going to be a lot of advancement on stewardship initiatives locally.
Mhm.
Oh,
Okay, so
and
then the next
one other-
thing,
one other thing on that is
oh.
that the Flood Resilience Network also submitted a grant through the local stewardship to continue the Flood Resilience Network, which we also started as the Sea Level Rise Task Force.
yes,
That is also another stewardship grant that was submitted. So.
oh, and that was under the stewardship. Okay, and is that to help fund the facilitation
Yes.
primarily? Yep.
So, the city submitted a letter on this one,
Yes.
right?
So we
Okay.
submitted a new number of letters, which literally went against,
Yeah, right.
which supported other entities in their applications, even though we were competing against those same organizations.
Anything more on the community preservation plan grant? Or that in general? Okay, so the city-owned properties opportunities. I don't know much about this, and maybe Kevin knows more, but so I'm gonna just to explain it simply, there were city-owned properties that were put over to the Kingston Land Bank with the idea that they would sell them or do something to get them rehabilitated, and that there were some that the land bank could not use and it put back on the city-owned property list. And I in the past have heard say for Ulster County that they track properties that are going up for auction to see if that they could buy them for open space or some other reason. And so I thought we might be just want to track that or be aware of that. And then I tried to do the homework on the properties, and I couldn't find them all easily. And so that's all. I did find the one on Van Buren, the one on Main, and the one on Hasbrook. And of course, any of these could be like little pocket parks or something like that. The one on Hasbrook, I live almost on Hasbrook, and I didn't know that there's Hasbrook on the other side of 9W, and that it goes down to near the Newkirk. And so it's actually kind of right next to where the community garden is on near Roundup Gardens. So, that could be an extension of the community garden or something. But the only ones I could find were listed as the land bank owner on the Ulster County parcel map.
I put the link
Anyway.
to the Freeman article in the chat that lists them all.
Okay, and I'm gonna,
If you have
I
access,
know, but
if you have access to the Freeman.
yeah, right.
yeah, well,
Which I sent the article, but to go and
yeah, I think I have this.
Yeah.
article. The largest of them, I think, is 197-225 North Street rear. That's 10 acres, and that is a key parcel for preservation. It's highly visible from the quarry water site. It's visible from across the river. We during the NRI process, I went there with Julie and Matthew and Kristen Maselli, and we walked that parcel. We accessed it from the business park, so we were on city property the whole time. And yeah, it's yeah, it's a key parcel. It should probably be part of the quarry water site, you know, but that's another discussion for another time, I suppose. The other parcels around the avenues, some of those are small and I don't think they're really developable for, you know, housing. But there's questions as to some of them are very close to the business park and whether they, you know, they should be preserved as buffers or,
Mhm.
yeah, or in coordination with this 197 North Street. It's been discussed at Kingston Land Trust a few times, but there hasn't been a clear resolution. I imagine we'll, at our next meeting, we'll revisit some of this now that there's more clarity on what's, you know, that it's not going to the land bank.
Yeah, so what is there? What do you think the CAC should be doing about this? If anything?
Yeah, me or
Oh,
Sebastian?
no, everyone.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking that the 197-225 I just mentioned, I think that's important.
Mhm.
If it were to, let's say, for example, if it were to go to the business park, I think you'd see a lot of like inappropriate development in the Delaware forest. That they already have the, you know, the archaeological site on their map as a
Mhm.
development site, which is contraindicated in the secret review. They
Mhm.
apparently don't even aren't aware of that, you know, so yeah, and quite often that's how these things happen. People don't remember, you know, or they, whatever, it just sort of goes by the wayside and suddenly there's a proposal to do something and it's like, yikes, how'd that happen? So I think it bears monitoring, you know. I don't know what the final disposition of the properties will be, if it's going to go to auction as surplus or if it's going to be designated through the open, you know, as part of the open space index process, be designated to remain open
Mhm.
space. That, you know, yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that plays itself out over the next year.
What about the 38 Chapel?
Oh, yeah, 38 Chapel. I have to pull that. That's near Clearwater Park, isn't it?
I don't think it's that high up. I think it's just, it's a house on the
I got
left going up the
a
hill.
viewer up to do that one.
All right, does it, yeah, I pulled it up.
Yeah.
Do you want to share your screen or?
Me, so that could be,
No, I mean, I could, but.
yeah, I have 38 Chapel there. That's, oh yeah, okay.
It's a residential.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I hadn't recalled that one on the land trust review list. That is that.
yeah, no, that,
a
well,
one
I just saw
family.
because it's,
It's a one family, yeah. The
Yeah.
one that's really confusing is very close to there. There's something on Rodney Street that's got title issues and, you know, it's kind of crazy. I think it's one of the undefined ones on the corner.
mhm. Oh, so Chapel Street though, so that's right across from what I call, Father Devine's place.
Yeah,
It's like,
right.
Yeah,
okay,
that's this.
Where's
Yeah.
Clearview Park in relation to that?
Clearwater
Oh,
Park
it's right.
is
Clearwater.
yeah, okay.
which is no longer being actively managed as a park.
Yeah, that's on the parcel viewer as if it were a real park. I think there used to be a rusted swing set there.
And slide.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and that could be revisited during the open space planning index process. And see if it
Okay.
meets criteria. Sure.
Yeah, and the ones I looked up, I guess they aren't on the list. I just, they're not on the list of the ones that they couldn't handle. And does anyone know where the one is gone, Garden Street? Because Garden is right here off of Prince. Or off of Smith. It's anyway, it's
On Garden Street. Let me see.
yeah, it's 72 Garden.
Let's see. Let me see if I've looked at that one.
And then what you're talking about, the avenues are First Avenue and Third Avenue.
Right.
Yeah.
At one point, the land trust was looking at some way to get from the Green Line, Kingston Point Rail Trail through the woods, to either the archaeological like stones at the business park and then swing around, avoid their, developed area and come around and hook up with the 197 North Street. But there's a lot of up and down there. There's some terrain to deal with to make that feasible. But they
Yeah,
do
I think
about buffers.
the Garden Street, that's kind of interesting because it's just like it's just a parcel on Garden Street, and it's like 4 down from Foxhall. And so maybe it's just too small or something. Well,
Unless somebody has an idea to put, a tiny home on it. That's the other,
yeah, it seems
that's the nexus of open space and housing at some point, and that might be something that could
it
be
seems
suitable.
like something like that maybe why wouldn't the next door neighbor want to buy it for a bigger lot or something? But who knows?
Well, it could also,
Okay,
could be a pocket park in Midtown.
Yeah,
We have identified that in our open space plan that we need a pocket park in Midtown.
right. It would be right down really from where they're taking out Planet Wings, very close to that. So, okay. Well, I feel like I think we should just keep track of, keep watching on this, and
agreed.
keep an eye on it and let us know what, I know that there's great groups like Kingston Land Trust that are also watching this. I wanted to recognize that Amanda has joined. Amanda, do you want to introduce yourself? I can't see your whole name actually. Oh, there you are.
Hi, sorry. It's Amanda Cabanillas. And I was told about this meeting by Sebastian and invited to join. So,
Oh, okay, great.
I invited Amanda because she
Okay.
expressed interest in maybe joining the CAC.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think we can ask you to comment at the end if that's okay. Because we're on Zoom, it's always nice to know who's here. Okay. And Tanya sent us in a nice chat about explaining these sites way better than I could have. And so they're both the 2 family residents at 30 Chapel Street, single family at 46 North and 50 North, vacant land on Catskill Terrace, Elm Street, First Avenue, and 72 Garden Street, and the rest of the properties that were listed in the Freeman article.
Yeah, I think the land trust has looked at a number of these, and there's a couple of them that are just sort of like, I don't think Catskill Terrace really looked like it was oddly configured. And we discussed the avenues, First and Third Avenue already. North Street's been discussed. I think some of those houses we discussed during the sea level rise task force, that they weren't going to make it. Yeah. the sea level rise comes, those houses are gonna go. So,
So the,
ooh, yeah, they're rapidly, the backyard is, kind of disappearing there.
so those are all good for buffering or that would be buffering for sea level rise.
Yeah, they may at some point have to be taken down. I mean, I don't know where building safety is at on that. I'd have to look that up, but yeah,
Okay.
but they were, there's appear to be sinking, so to speak.
All right, is there any other discussion on that agenda item? Okay, and going back and forth between screens here. Okay, open space index and so who wants to talk about the open space index?
Well, if you or Julie don't want to do it, I can give it a shot.
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Okay. Well, the CAC, we had John Mickelson was our consultant on the natural resource inventory, and he did a rough up on the open space index where he did a very, very long this way and long this way spreadsheet showing many, many, many environmental attributes to properties, and then showed, is it 8,700 properties in the city of Kingston? And he listed every one. And you could develop the open space index from that spreadsheet. I mean, he called it an open space index, but what he did not do was prioritization, which
Right.
will be done as part of the community preservation plan grant if the grant is successful. So the basic methodology you would use would be to do the sort function in Excel, and you would determine how many criteria a specific parcel received. And then that would make it a candidate for a priority parcel. I think that's it in a nutshell.
Mhm.
It's a little tricky to work though. I mean, it's bulky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 8,700 rows. And I don't remember how many columns. I think we were out to like triple Z or something. There was a lot of both columns and rows.
And is there anything do you feel like we should wait and see about the grant, or do you think that there should be actions that we are taking now to start prioritization?
Well, I was going to give it a fresh look, but then the grant came in, and I think if you look at one of the last sets of minutes, I was going to start doing that. But then if we're going to have a consultant, it's like, how far do we want to get into that? And then have the consultant say, no, I'd rather do it a different way. And then they do it, and then they send it back to us for comments. I'm not sure how it's going to go.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a conundrum because we won't know about the grant until December.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, if we start really delving into this and spending a lot of time and the consultant doesn't, has a different approach, it's going to be,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could set the stage. I already kind of said it earlier that I think it would be great if we get the grant that the consultant does it. Sebastian, do you have anything to say about this topic?
No, just broadly agree with what's been said about it. I don't have much to add. I'm sorry.
No need to apologize. Just wanted to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think both with the open space and the vacant parcel or the land bank parcels, or the city-owned properties, I guess that's how you would call them, right? City-owned. I think we can just keep watching that. And then the other topic was tracking progress. And is that tracking progress on the open space what does that refer to?
Yeah, that was referring to tracking progress on open space initiatives.
Mhm.
I wanted to just comment that I started a process of tracking the tree planting.
Mm,
So one of the stipulations in the open space plan is that the city will plant 1,000 street trees by the next 10 years. I did look back into the open space plan to see if that was a specific stipulation that it was street trees as opposed to trees. It does say street trees, which narrows pretty really specifically. So it's great when we plant lots of other trees, but these need to be specifically street trees. So we have a capital projects and grant management system that we use for the city called Evcs. And we set up a tracking system within that so that we can track trees planted as a project. That will calculate trees planted as part of grants and as part of other projects. And so we are still far from 1,000, but we're getting there. And at least now we have a tracking mechanism. And so I think that part of the community preservation plan and part of the action moving forward for the next year certainly will be, and it's on my radar, to be really tracking the efforts and having the CAC be a sort of a clearinghouse for the efforts of keeping track of how we're doing on the open space plan. Obviously the land trust and many other partners are playing very, very large roles, but the role that the city can play is certainly in where we are in our progress. So,
because there are some that we really haven't even looked back at, I think, so we could, protection of the streams and so on. So that is good to do. And it sounds like then for the trees, normally, like if someone plants a tree in their yard, then that doesn't count as a street tree. The street tree needs to be between the road and the sidewalk.
it needs to be within the first 10 feet.
Oh, first 10 feet. Okay, so if there wasn't a sidewalk
mm.
or you just planted it close to the, is it 10 feet from the street or 10 feet from the side, 10 feet from the street?
I have to confirm. It actually may be related to the right of way. I have to actually confirm, but I'm pretty sure it's 10 feet from the street, but I'll have to confirm.
And anyway, and then the reason to go to the tree commission to get permission to plant is to make sure that appropriate tree is planted. So you don't plant a huge tree that will interfere with any overhead wires. Or, even trees that have kind of branch out early and then pedestrians are affected, I would assume. So, yes.
Right,
So
and I will note that this, and we've mentioned this before, the city does have a grant for $50,000, well, over $50,000 to be planting street trees, which we just received. So that will certainly add to our numbers.
Right, except for that when they, my understanding from going to the tree commission meeting, it's almost $1,000 a tree. So that's 50 trees and that's 50 out of 1,000. So it's a big task.
It's a big task and a big commitment.
Putting, getting homeowners to come up with putting their own trees in would really be a great program. Okay. All right. I think we, so how do we want to progress? Are we going to kind of list any kind of tracking progress on agenda meeting, on our agendas, or bring it up quarterly? Is there anything we should be doing about that?
Well, I think we're going to be tracking, well, Julie just mentioned the tracking on the street trees. I'll probably be tracking on those properties that we just discussed.
Right.
Well, there was one property we didn't really mention. It's the largest of the largest of the lots, I should say. That's 240-256 rear Hurley. That was once proposed for a development that the planning board could not approve because it didn't have access. And I think at some point, Michael Gilliard had looked at that to see if some type, affordable housing could go there. That didn't work either. The only real access to that has to come through one of the properties on Fairview Avenue. And that was what was before the planning board many, many, many years ago. And the planning board just said that wasn't good because the driveway, you can't use your driveway to put, a housing development through your driveway. That's crazy. It's not wide enough. The only real access is through the Spring Lake mobile home park in the town of Ulster. It adjoins a thruway, and it's really behind Fairview, not behind Hurley Avenue. So that's the short story or the long story on that. It awaits.
Okay.
It could be something suitable for fruit trees, maybe, if you don't mind having fruit trees next to the thruway. That's a whole another question. But yeah, there could be something done with that in terms of open space. Or if somebody could make a deal with the property owner in the town of Ulster and could get access through there, it possibly could be affordable housing.
Okay.
Both
Well,
of
thanks
which.
for that report out.
Yeah, that's a tall order though at this point. So I think that's where we're left, and I'm sorry we can move forward. So we'll be.
Okay. Well, I think in terms of water quality, we're going to talk about septic code review. And I also feel like we are concerned about water quality, but there are sometimes not really quick fixes, and that, we may take action, but, the fixes, like whether or not it's the, putting in green infrastructure or cutting down on pavement, they're not quick fixes. So we can think about water quality in that way. But it's just as hard as air pollution. It's a slow process. So anyway, do we have any other? Oh, so I'm gonna ask Sebastian about the septic code review.
At the last meeting, we decided that we weren't gonna move forward with anything until we got a map from the city of Kingston. I didn't reach out to Greg this month to ask about the map, so I can do that for next month.
Okay.
But
Thank
that's
you.
all I got on that. Yeah.
And then okay, there it is. Kingston Point Beach gate letter. So I just wanted, I wanted to acknowledge that we got a letter from the mayor talking about the Kingston Point Beach gate and giving us more information other than what we learned from Lindsay from Parks, the head of Parks and Recreation, and that I thought it was very helpful to provide that information, for him to provide that information. And does anyone else have any other comment on that or anything to say?
No.
Okay, the next thing is CAC membership, and we do have Amanda here, and I assume this is about reaching out to people to see if they would like to join. I don't have anything to report myself.
I did send an invitation to a handful of people, including Greg Shaheen from the Kingston Land Trust, to Bill Moore, who we have talked about in the past and has expressed interest in the past, to Beth Ressler.
Hmm.
Trees for Trips, she runs the Trees for Trips program,
Mhm.
and several others that I can't think of right now. I have heard back from a few that they're considering it. I haven't gotten
Oh,
any
great.
denials. I have spoken with the mayor. He definitely is interested in having more folks on the CAC. As I've said in the past, the CAC by legislation can have from 3 to 9, between 3 to 9 members. Now it is at 3. So certainly growing that is important. And I think that if anyone else has any other ideas for folks we want to reach out to, I'm happy to meet with folks to talk about what the CAC does, or the difference between the CAC and Climate Smart Kingston Commission. If there's other folks you want me to send notes to, I'm happy to do that.
I'd appreciate just a copy so I can use that as a template for myself.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was trying to reach out, or I have reached out also to the Kingston Land Trust, but, well, to Greg for sure, but also to the board. And we had just lost one really amazing board member. Her term, she was there for several terms, and then she just needed a break. And she wasn't ready to jump from that board right over to here, like the next day
Okay.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's expiring in June, so she's not expiring, her term is expiring in June. And, she did express interest, and, I'll follow her up again.
Okay,
And
thank
let the
you.
other people too, from that board that know other people that are volunteering on the Green Line or the
Mhm.
Trail Rangers or something else that may express interest.
And I wrote up and tried and posted something to Nextdoor, but I never saw it on Nextdoor. So
Mm.
Nextdoor is kind of a Facebook, but different, where people, you have to be invited to join, and all the time there are people introduced saying, yes, I just joined, and this is, they tell about themselves. And there's a lot of inquiries about plumbers and electricians, but there's also information that you can sell things, and you can ask questions like, what is this bug, or what is this tree, what is this fungus? So there's all these things, and I just think that my post didn't go out. I just probably don't know how to do it. So
Mhm.
I need to check in with someone else and see what I did wrong. And so that was all. I just, Sebastian, you obviously have gotten Amanda to come, and so I have Sebastian. Do you want to report anything else out, or do you want to, and is it okay to have Amanda ask some questions now? Okay,
That's,
so,
yeah, that's fine. I put out an ask for a couple people, and yeah, Amanda, expressed interest, and I said definitely come by to a meeting just to see kind of what it's about. And totally, yeah, Amanda, if you have any questions for anyone, feel free to
Or
let us know, or comments.
I guess I don't have any specific questions at the moment. I apologize for getting here so late. But I would be interested in seeing that, I guess that write-up, Julie, that you had mentioned that you had been sending people, that explains what you all do or what the CAC does. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll forward that to Sebastian, and then he can get it too.
Okay, great.
and did you see an agenda for tonight's meeting? So you kind of see what we cover?
I hadn't seen the agenda, but I just listened to a bit of what you covered. And
All right, well, just for your information, all agendas are on the city's website. There's a calendar, and then you can click And, you know, I always hate to just say, oh, go look on whatever website you can find it, but I'm going to say that. So, or Julie could find it easily and put it in the chat, but
I'm familiar with where they
Okay.
are. I just hadn't had a chance to take a
okay,
look.
that's
Thank you.
fine, because some people, yeah, back in the old days, it was a lot harder to get an agenda. So you went to the meeting, and that was when you learned what was on the agenda. So anyway, and you can also see who's members. And oh, by the way, our list of members is very old. Is that, Julie, can you do something about that? Casey's still on, and Betta. So, okay, next is new business. And we have CAC mission and scope draft rewrite and the city plan review and engagekingston.org. So Julie, are you going to cover that, or?
Well, the proposed draft mission and scope rewrite was proposed by Sebastian. Sebastian,
Okay.
are you in the position to go over that?
1 second while I pull it up.
While we're waiting, is the city plan review, is that the city zoning?
We had talked about in the past looking at Engage Kingston to see if CAC wanted to
Oh, right.
submit comments on anything in particular.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so I found it. I believe I sent this. This is the same copy I think I sent to you, Julie. Just want to double check. So I'm just gonna paste it into the chat so we're all looking at the same thing. I don't know how to go about this. But basically we updated the scope. I'm not sure how to talk about it. We had a retreat, and then at that retreat reviewed the scope of the CAC, proposed updates to the CAC scope that would better capture the work we have been doing and the type of work we do. And so that is what I just posted into the chat. We're not changing the mission at all. The mission has been set by law, the Common Council. So we can't change that. This is merely the scope, which kind of explains how we do our work and what type of work we're doing. I have the Google Google Doc link and that I just put in the chat too. And so the changes were reflecting the open space plan. It was adjusting a couple of language pieces around who we interact with and how we interact with them. And I put it on here for us to review and discuss, and let me know what you think.
Oops. Oh, wow. Okay, so I'm not ready to kind of work on this tonight. How should we proceed on this? Should we set ourselves a deadline?
That seems okay. I think this is what. So this is what we worked on it during our retreat. So this hasn't been changed since then.
Yeah.
But I'm happy
Okay.
to, yeah, if you all want to look at it and then we can pick it back up next month. But this has not been changed
can-
since we all went over it and made those adjustments together.
Okay, so do you, just want to hear from everyone, do you want to just vote on this tonight, or should we work on it in July? It's just Kevin and me and Sebastian to make that decision.
Are we comfortable with the language, or do we think it needs a little, another read and then, vote on it next time? It looks,
I'm comfortable with the language.
yeah, all right, then do we want to,
I-
okay,
I'm
yeah.
okay with,
all right.
I want to ask Julie one thing is when you say, like you say, other city agencies, is city capitalized, and coordinate with City of Kingston boards, is that capitalized?
Well, if the word city agencies is used as other cities, as in
Oh, right, that is not,
Like,
I'm sorry,
authorities
yes,
somewhere
right.
else, then I would use lowercase c. If it's other
Okay.
city agencies, as in other Kingston agencies, I would capitalize C.
Okay. So, Sebastian, yeah, okay,
Yep, so, yep.
Mhm.
okay, we're looking at this on Google. Okay,
Mhm.
all righty, thank you, that's what I thought, thank you for clarifying that. Okay, so, Sebastian made the corrections of capitalization. So are we ready to, and by the way, I would put a period at the end of the last bullet, the way you've done this. I think you put a period at the end of the last bullet with the semicolons everywhere else. Okay, let's vote. Oh my, can we have a first and a motion?
I'll give the motion.
Okay, second,
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye, sorry.
Thank you. That's unanimous. Thank you, Sebastian, for following up on that. So
Mhm.
then,
I'll update that on the website.
okay.
and
And then,
include that as appendix B. I have Lorraine as appendix A. Should I put that as appendix B to the minutes?
yeah, that's fine with me.
Yeah, it's a significant change, right? Okay,
Yeah,
right,
that would
okay.
be good.
Yep.
Sebastian, can you
And
send me? I just want to make sure that there is no confusion over what the final version is. So can you copy and paste this into a Word document and send it to me, please?
Totally.
Thank you.
all right, thank you. Okay, and then we have the city plan review, engagekingston.org. Any activity or action on that?
Point of order, I listed it as engagekingston.org on the agenda. It's actually engagekingston.com. That is.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, I have the link. I'm gonna put the link in there. And I'll make the appropriate change. And do we want the link in the chat too? While I have it? I guess so. Unless somebody put
Sure.
it there.
So many things.
Yeah, so I think what we've talked about in the past is, so I'm gonna gauge Kingston, there's a lot of projects that folks can keep up with in terms of community engagement. Not all of them at all times are looking for public input. Some of them are just kind of an FYI, this is the latest information. So right now, I mean, for any of them, you could click on any of them and you could provide, you know, question answers or ideas or stories or comments or forum. So the CAC could do that at any time for any of these. But then there's going to be times when the city has an open survey or is looking for specific information. And, you know, what we've talked about is keeping those sort of on the radar the same way the CAC does with the planning board. And while, you know, in reviewing the planning board with an eye for the specific things that are relevant to the CAC, would be reviewing this as well with the relevant active city projects from the lens of the CAC.
How are we systematically going to do that? Any ideas? I mean, could we assign it to one person once a month and kind of rotate through, or does one person want to do it? Does anyone look at these regularly?
I've looked at some of them. I haven't looked at everything though. It's a lot of stuff. Oh, maybe I
It'd be
have.
most effective time-wise for me to give you all a heads up on which ones are the most timely for input.
Okay.
Yeah, similar to what you do at the Climate Commission, like city infrastructure projects. When, you know, some of these are not infrastructure and clearly they would need a different type of discussion if it pertains to us.
Right.
But a lot of it is.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these, if not most, or if not all of these right now, are sort of in the FYI stage.
Mhm.
I would say as things move into a stage where input is important, I can keep folks abreast of that. I would say one that's going to be on the radar or should be on the radar would be safe and accessible Flatbush and Foxhall. There is a survey that is out now that I think you can still take. But again, I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be each individual taking that survey, but this one in particular, the design hasn't been completed. So if the CAC wants to weigh in on this project, that's still a viable project. That's still a project that can change substantially based on input. Other projects like Deet Stadium, that's fully designed, but the CAC could weigh in on that in terms of support for funding if you want to. That's like a $10 million plus project that needs funding support. Just kind of scrolling down, most of these other projects are not in a position where they are looking for any kind of necessary input on design. So I mean,
part of I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, if that's the easiest way for us to do it, that's fine. And I also could be removed from the process if somebody else wants to take it on as, you know, reviewing it every month. I mean,
No, I like your idea.
Okay.
One of the things we did talk about was trying to, be more proactive about green infrastructure for stormwater management. And so I guess we could look at it that in that lens, besides the other open space, besides tree planting or other projects that are our mission or purview. And I didn't hear you say which project was still kind of taking comments. I didn't hear the project.
Safe and accessible Flatbush and Foxhall.
Oh, I didn't even see that one. Okay, so that would be street trees and green infrastructure and.
Yeah, and right now, the big thing about that project, the project itself is, the design is under consideration of whether or not to and how to make non-motorized transportation more safe and accessible, both on the length of Foxhall and the length of Flatbush. And so there are several design alternatives, which include either bike lanes or shared use paths or sidewalks or some combination of those. And depending on how the community weighs in will depend on how that final project is designed. So the CAC could certainly submit comments on that particular project. I would say that there is still time on that. So if I would think that for the next meeting, that would be one that people should take a look at.
Okay.
And the rest of
Oh,
them
there it
are
is.
not as top of mind right now.
Mhm. All right, and Tanya mentioned the bluestone use on Henry, that we could
Yes,
personally attend the meetings as personal.
yes. So Flatbush and Foxhall and Henry are the two right now that should or could be on the CAC's radar.
Okay. So for instance, the safe and accessible Flatbush and Foxhall, Lorraine is listed as the project advisory committee member representing the CAC. Well, that's unfortunate that she had to resign.
Yeah, so I will talk to Greg about that. Also Complete Streets, because I think that she's on Complete Streets as a CAC, right?
Yes. Mhm,
Right, and Greg Krupp is the
mhm.
project manager for Foxhall and Flatbush. Okay. All right, oh my gosh. Okay, well, let's all right, so it seems like the next order, could everyone look at the Foxhall and Flatbush for the next meeting and come with ideas of comments? And then I would just want to ask Julie, for this, would we submit comments as a group to the online portal?
I would say not. I would say that the CAC should submit comments to the project manager in the formal way that that comments are submitted to the planning board. Well, there isn't any precedent for that. I don't know that it would be bad to set precedent.
And anyone can submit as a citizen.
Right.
So in terms of that, I assume the project advisory committee does meet occasionally, and Lorraine was attending those meetings.
The project advisory committee has met. I don't know how, you're talking about Flatbush Foxhall project specifically?
Yeah, but you can be general too.
Yeah, for each project, it varies pretty greatly how often, well, even if there's a project advisory committee and how often they meet and what their role is. And sometimes there's a staff advisory committee and then the public project advisory committee. I know that there was a staff advisory committee recently on the Flatbush and Foxhall. I don't know when the last PAC meeting was. But it might actually say on there.
Okay.
Yeah, it says, oh no, yeah, I don't know.
All right, so that'll be a to-do for the next meeting to look at the Foxhall Flatbush.
It's in the chat.
Right, thank you. All right, any more on the city, the engagekingston.com? All right, and then for communications, I would say that we did receive a communication from Ingrid Heckel by way of Amanda, not Amanda Laval, someone about, oh, from Julie, about the the organization in Connecticut, the city in Connecticut that is this very interesting kind of land use mapping. And, or it was more than land use, that was the point. It was much more than land use. And I just wanted to say that Ingrid said it was hard to use and I found it impossible to use, but but that was a communication. People felt that that might be something we want to follow up with. So do you want to put that on the agenda the next time to kind of look through, or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I can, so did you see that? I can put the, remind me of the city it was in Connecticut.
I thought it was Norwalk.
Yeah, it was.
Norwalk.
Yeah,
right.
Norwalk, yeah.
Right, Norwalk, Connecticut Urban Conservation Mapping Project. Okay. Yeah, so if you Google that, it does come up, and that it covers social equity and urban heat island and so on. So it's just something that we might want to think about. And it was interesting because the group that part of the group that did the mapping is called Hudson to Housatonic Regional Conservation Partnership. I thought that was interesting. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'll put that in the
Yeah,
chat.
what day was, I have it on my phone, but I can't pull the link from my phone. So
Yeah, I think this is it, but
let me see what
okay.
day it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, I can find that. All right.
yeah, so yeah, so and you could take a look at it. This would definitely be a long-term thing where we might want to get a grant or something to do this kind of project. And also I think that this, from what I read, it seems like the person who that it was a nice group effort and that it's really not been done before, is my understanding.
Emily, I know that you weren't at the meeting, but does it seem like, for your understanding, that what Ulster County Department of the Environment applied for the local stewardship funding was going to be something like this?
No.
Oh.
Yeah,
I thought you said it was going to be an online mapping system.
it is, but I don't think it was going to cover the more. I thought it was natural resources inventory versus some of the other things that were on this.
Okay. Because this was forwarded to me from Amanda.
Yeah, you're right.
Which Ingrid sent it to her, or Ingrid sent it to her department. She sent it to me.
Right, I don't know.
Okay. I mean, if the county is gonna be doing it, it's super bonus to us.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I
And
mean,
maybe they,
if you have an EMC meeting between now and the next CAC meeting, that can help inform us.
okay, I can ask that because part of that is, and that, by the way, you're gonna go to you're gonna go to that meeting, but you don't have to stay for the whole thing.
Right, okay.
Yeah, maybe they, maybe they would put, yeah, it looks like maybe they were investigating it because it was May 11th. So anyway, it was the email, they were, anyway. So maybe they could put something like that in and use it, or, because of course with grants, you don't need to necessarily say everything that you're gonna do.
Right.
Yeah, so I could ask that question. Okay,
Okay.
any announcement, any other communications?
We're,
That there was that communication from the mayor.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
that
And-
we covered that already though.
Yeah.
weren't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And any announcement or events? I guess because things are opening up, there are going to be more events. And so that's exciting. Oh yeah, and then, so I will tell you about one that I just got today. The Kingston Library has been working with they're going to have sorry. One of the things also, first of all, UCRA is doing some training and doing some training on like different things like learning about plastics. And it sounds like it's online. Is anyone interested in getting the information on that? And yeah, and then on Wednesday, June 30th, which is when the EMC meetings, they've been working with Partners for Climate Action and the Mid-Hudson Library System and Library of Local. Library of Local is a project that offers library patrons in the Hudson Valley a collection of books, tools, and other resources, as well as weekly events that all aim to foster local self-sufficiency and community resilience. So on the 30th, they're covering sow, grow, reap, repeat, gardening and foraging for resilience. So anyway, that's on June 30th at 6, and I can try to figure out the link.
And the UCRA
also-
trainings are also at the library?
No, the UCRA
No.
trainings, I think, are online.
Oh,
Not
all right.
possible.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
want to, I don't want to get them confused and.
Yeah, I can, anyway, so anyway, I don't know how to tell you more about this, but I will tell you, I can't find anything specific about sow, grow, reap, repeat gardening and foraging for resilience. So that sounds fun. It's free. And so that's my one announcement.
Okay.
And okay. So that's nice that they're doing that. All right, now the next thing, no other announcement events, and we'll go to reports. And Complete Streets Lorraine Center report. So should we just add that to the agenda, to the minutes?
She sent a complete streets report.
She did.
Okay, I didn't open it or see it. Oh, was it in like Google Docs?
Yeah, she sent it.
Yeah,
this
okay,
morning.
yeah, okay. I wasn't logged into the account that I needed to, that gets sent to. So I didn't actually look at that. but I can do that.
So there was discussion on e-scooters
Mhm.
and come up with a recommendation for draft ordinance, pedestrian bike master plan. The RFP was released and the proposals are due June 4th. So would the pedestrian bike master plan be, was that on Engage Kingston? Or maybe it's too early. And then sidewalk
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sidewalk improvement district. Kristen spoke with the mayor and he's interested in reinvigorating the proposal for sidewalk improvement. And that there would be a referendum on November 2022.
That's 2 referenda.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then pedestrian safety action plan. Project to reconfigure, and improve 5 pedestrian crossings in Kingston Crown and North Front Street, Joy's Lane and Deet Stadium, Broadway and Delaware, Maiden Lane and Albany, and Broadway and McEntee. And, oh, and it looks like bid is being awarded to Colarusso for construction. So that's a go. Right? All right. So that was great. That's great to see all that information. And I guess we need a representative on Complete Streets. Or someone to attend or something.
Yeah, I'll talk to Greg or Emily or Kristen, whoever runs Complete Streets, and see how that's gonna go.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, and then planning board liaison, Kevin McAvoy.
Okay, yeah, let's see what we have upcoming here. I see that Transart is back. They're gonna have, I haven't seen the site plan yet, that isn't out, but I have a lot of site plans from Alan Bear on that project. Looks like the big ticket item here is the Courts Hotel under new business.
So wait just a minute, I just want to say that
Yeah.
Transart is the building on Henry.
105-107 Henry Street. They're coming up for a special permit renewal, but I don't know if, Alan's going to be presenting new plans or what have you. He periodically shows up at the Landmarks Commission, with whatever work they're doing, and they are moving along with it, pretty.
Yeah, that's for Amanda Sebastian. That's a very interesting looking building at that address on Henry. That's being renovated by a group. Is there anything for CACs to be involved in on that?
No, it looks like the purpose of the permit is for the gallery space, exhibitions, educational space, and admin. I just thought it might be of interest because that's been a long running project that,
Yeah,
like it
no,
was
thank you.
bid on more than one occasion, and it's happening.
Thank you for bringing it up. What is, and what's the Courts Hotel?
That's the Courts Mansion, site plan to 132 Lindsley Avenue to establish a 12-room hotel with restaurant and event use to renovate a second structure into a second dwelling residence. Now, that would probably be the caretaker's cottage and the stables, that particular building. This looks just like an initial thing. It'll have to go also to the HAC, I believe, because it's doesn't say HAC on there. Usually Suzanne says what other boards it has to go to. It says National Register, so I guess she means HAC. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm on the HAC, so we'll be looking at that over there, I'm pretty sure. I think the thing for the CAC to watch for is if it's gonna be another one of these wood burning restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
If this is like the
Well,
new
what
new
about,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
and then what about extra parking? Because this is the same one, or this has the parking, so people can go down to the Brickyard.
yeah, which we kind of at the time suspected it was for the Courts Hotel, which they didn't announce
Oh.
yet.
I see.
They allowed it for enough parking there, and they do have, there is parking facilities on the site already, gravel, gravel driveway that encircles the house. And yeah, whenever Hunt Slonim would have guests, I mean, he didn't park on Lindsley. He had his people park on site, and they stayed off the lawns. One thing I would add about Courts Mansion is that it is a known archaeological site as well, a Native American
Right.
site. I was there once with Chris Lindner on some event or another, and he was picking up church in the lawn. So I don't think they're going to be disturbing that. It doesn't look like it, but we'll have to take a look at the site plan and then take a hard look at the wood burning.
So it
And
could be air pollution, and
yeah,
it
there could
might-
be
it could be just stormwater runoff, but
that. Yeah, we'll have to see if they have a stormwater runoff plan or if one is required, because it's kind of a level space there. You're on a plateau up there.
yeah,
Whereas the parking lot that they recently were working on sloped downward, and that was that had stormwater runoff, but this is different.
okay.
So we'll look at the site plan and report back on that. And if we have to make comments, I'll make a recommendation and everybody can take that up. Let's see what else we have on here, if anything that looks like I don't see Lucas Avenue. I think they tabled that for June,
Okay.
if I recall correctly from the last meeting. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things on here, but I don't know if any of them are really within the CAC scope. The Daley Freeman building, for example, that would be, Scott Dutton's been working on that. And I think the plans have been already announced for that, and the Daley Freeman apparently has to get out. So,
Wow, what's going on there?
they have another use for it. I think it was just in the Freeman, and I'd have to find the article.
Okay.
It's escaping my memory, too many.
So that's the
brain
Dilly
fog.
Freeman is on Henry. I mean, sorry,
Hurley
Hurley.
Avenue. Yeah, they're looking for
Hurley
those
Avenue.
space actively.
Wow.
Yeah, I gotta find all my Freeman articles that I just, where did I? I don't want to hold this up while I'm looking for
Yeah.
recent back issues of the Freeman, but it was in the Freeman.
Yeah. So,
The Freeman was in the Freeman, yeah.
yes, the Freeman was in the
Um,
Freeman.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm sort of
That's okay.
up with this.
That's okay. We can keep an eye on it. So moving on
Okay,
with the agenda, Public Safety Liaison, Michelle's not here.
right.
Is anyone, I can't remember, Julie, are you going to those meetings or not? No. So should someone be going to that meeting to report off on the CAC?
Somebody should, but quite often I'm at the Climate Smart, which tends to drag on, and
Right,
yeah, Serena has to bail out early, and then yeah, I have to do this whole thing to get her the Climate Smart minutes to present, and
so,
depending
yeah,
upon
so
the time we have
that's
another meeting.
is that always the fourth Wednesday?
Yeah, and sometimes depending upon what Suzanne
Yeah.
does, Suzanne Cahill, with the Heritage Area Commission, I have that as a conflict.
Yeah,
That-
so I'm
Yeah,
on the EMC,
I
so I
know,
meet,
you have a conflict, I know.
except for not in June because there's 5 Wednesdays. So I could potentially attend that. Are they still Zoom meetings?
I believe that one is.
And do you have to sit through a lot, or do you just, are
Well,
you on the first of the agenda?
when I attended, they had us first, and I think they have
Yeah.
Serena first. But if Serena gets there late, see, they won't be expecting you unless we advise them. They'll be expecting Serena from Climate Smart.
Yeah, no, I could advise them.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's
All right, so I'll
important.
follow up on that.
Okay.
And then what we need to think about that as we get more members and so on.
Yeah, that was
Um,
the thing where I was running literally from one meeting to the next all around
Yeah.
City Hall, and it was like,
All right. Sebastian, you might want to think about that too as something you could do. It's really just so they know what we're doing and maybe vice versa. Okay, next is the zoning committee.
yeah, I think where we're left with that is, well, they were in contract phase, and then I started hearing various reports that some of the funding might be caught up on one of the projects at Engage Kingston, which would be the displacement project, the enterprise funding. That
Hmm.
some of the funding from there may go to pay for Dover coal. I don't know if there's any truth to that rumor or not. You know, doesn't say it on Engage Kingston, and I don't think it says it on any other documents that on the request for proposals, but have heard that. I don't know if anybody else has heard anything, but there seems to be I don't know, it's taking a little bit of time to get this contract signed. I know when we were doing Behan, you know, there were some issues that did drag on for a couple of months. And I don't know if this is the same thing or this is an internal discussion about funding that's going on. So, but for some reason, the council approved this in early April when we're now into June, and I don't think it's signed.
Oh, wow. So no action on actually the working on the zoning. It's still just figuring out the contracts.
That's what it seems to
funding.
be.
Okay.
And I'm not sure for certain what it is.
Okay, well, thanks for keeping us up to date on that. So Climate Smart Kingston, Kevin, or
Oh, I have to pull the minutes. Julie, if you want to get us started, I have to pull the minutes for that. It won't take me long. Minutes of April 28th. Okay, I have it.
Okay.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, it's not on the top of my tongue.
Yeah. Okay, well, we went through the green fleet policy and legislation at that meeting. And a letter of support was sent, I think, from the Climate Commission. Julie gave us an update on the Climate Action Plan 2030, sometimes known as 2.0. That included discussion about the meeting that was held on June 2nd, just recently, and the matrix that was reviewed at that meeting on June 2nd. There was a matrix of the various actions, and prioritization was the topic on June 2nd. And that worked in the Cadmus, the consultant, they had done some rough out prioritization. And then on June 2nd, the Project Action Advisory Committee looked at it and also did prioritization of secondary prioritization from Cadmus. So, and that'll be continued. Dan Smith did a report on refrigerants, which he's been doing with Maya. That's been an ongoing thing. And the methodology they were using was to try to determine leaks from the systems. And that could be a little tricky. There's a couple of different ways to do that, but we'll probably get lost in the weeds here if we do that. Get a look into their methodology. But one of the takeaways is to try to get language in the city code from the Montreal Protocol to present carbon concerns that are being addressed.
wow.
Yeah. And Cal discussed, he had an anecdotal story about window unit disposal, which, yeah. which we probably don't have to go into. Julie went into the sustainability projects, reported that the LED thing is finally done, LED lighting. Organics is still happening. That's not quite finished. And Ellie Gartenstein was reviewing gaps in the data. And then Julie ran us through various city parks and community development block grant funding, including the Andretta Pool splash pad and the block park improvements to elevate against sea level rise. Melissa Ayasheta went through.
Really, you're doing elevation? Wow,
We're
you're
wanna-
elevating
wanna
Block
address
Park?
that?
we're paving the lots, and in doing so, they will be slightly elevated.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm just reading a summary. I'm
Oh,
not
cool.
going
Okay.
into and really going
That's
into
okay.
and the minutes don't go into detail either, but the block park, I think the Heritage Area Commission reviewed that in depth. So I think I have the plans for block park. I don't know if it's of interest, but I do have them. At least one set from that was presented to Heritage. We had to discuss the LWRP on that. Let's see, there wasn't too much happening with Repair Cafe. Earth Day activities was a report. The pizza box campaign, and Melissa Ayasheta discussed that in a recent event. Well, it's not so recent now because this is April 28th. Vincenzo's. And then the stretch code that was approved. And is there anything else we'd want to go through from May? I have the set I gave for Serena. We were back on refrigerants, and Ellie reported that the name Freon will now be changed to refrigerants. Julie reported again on city parks and community development block grants, including Barman Park this time, playground. And Rickle Knox, another playground, an update on the Andretta Pool splash pad. Soccer fields at Kingston Point will start soon, with regards to construction. And the Kayak Grant was mentioned over there. Betta provided an update on, well, it's called Green Business Challenge, which she's actually talking about an intern program that at Citizens for Local Power. And she also just had a discussion on renewables and NYSERDA. And I think that kind of wrapped it up for the most part. I think so. Yeah. Oh, one last thing. Yes, this is important. The solid
Well,
waste
thank you very
management
much.
brochure, solid waste management brochure is being distributed. So there's a lot going on there. And again, we did review the
I know.
Melissa Everett briefly, and no action was really taken other than we needed clarification. Okay, so I think that covers Climate Smart.
What's the solid waste management brochure? It sounds really
Brochure?
exciting.
It's just an updated recycling mailer that's going to be going around to all residents.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. All right, great. And it would really be nice to finish that organics report.
You're preaching to the choir.
But anyway,
It's happening.
yeah, I know. Okay.
All righty. I think that covers us for Climate Smart. So I think on to the next item if we have one. Yes,
All right.
EMC.
All right. Yep. So I think it's the EMC and the Tree Commission. So again, I did not attend the Environmental Management Council. I was actually out of town and the power went out right when I could have attended by Zoom. So that's the trickiness of Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
But anyway, we heard from Evelyn Wright, and we heard, and there was a stormwater the stormwater report was presented. That is the Ulster County Stormwater Report. And then, and many of the people that are working that are members of the Environmental Management Council also do community and climate smart, either as a part of the as the CAC meeting members, and they are all very interested in Solarize Ulster and getting people to join Solarize Ulster, and that was the first Green New Deal. I'm starting over. The county county exec announced a Green New Deal on April 22nd, and they have, and Evelyn Wright is kind of in charge of the Green New Deal, and the first thing they've done is this Solarize Ulster, which is to get people to want to join community solar projects. And they are also, many of them are working on I always get this one wrong, which is the one where you can, it's community choice.
CCA, community choice
Yeah,
aggregate.
community choice aggregation. Yeah, where people have, where a whole town can choose to get their power from renewable energy, and you can opt out of that program. So many of them are working on that also. And we also learned, as I already reported, that the environmental department of the environment is put in a grant for the natural resources inventory. And then I, as the vice chair of the EMC, attended the Energy and Environment Committee meeting, which was, I think it was last Thursday, and that is headed by Manager Green. And in that meeting, if you're interested, they've worked towards, there was a proposal a long time ago to have some kind of business educator, and they finally have funded a position to do kind of sustainability outreach work, and it's not just about recycling or anything like that. And that position is, they're advertising it. So if you have friends or anyone who's looking for a job, it's a permanent position with the county. I believe it is in the Department of the Environment, but don't quote me on that. And but they are advertising that position. And also and Kevin, I can send you some more information on that if you want it. And then are more details. And then the other thing, they just went out of my head. Oh my God. Oh, so the county, passed legislations whereby certain generators of solid waste had to compost it, not solid waste, food waste, had to compost it. And because of COVID, they've kind of extended the deadlines for everyone. So it started at like really large generators and moving down to smaller. And so that resolution went through they discussed that and came up with rewording, and then that will go to the county, legislature for more action. And that'll be really good when people, when these organizations will be composting. And then thirdly, there was also discussion about, I'm on a group called the Zero Waste Implementation Plan, and it's kind of an ad hoc group of some people that are interested in solid waste and zero waste, and some county legislators and UCRA, and they're talking about formalizing it more as opposed to kind of being ad hoc. So anyway, and one of the reasons I'm bringing this up is like the EMC and the Environmental and Energy Committee, they kind of try to well, in the past they have liaisoned or, kind of, and it's kind of the same as public safety and the CAC.
Mm.
So anyway, so I thought I brought that up because I spent time in it. And then because of some other problem, I don't remember what, but the tree commission isn't meeting until Thursday. And then going back to the EMC is meeting on June 30th, which is the 5th Wednesday, and Julie's going to talk about going from a commission to a board. And that's all I can think of. And so is there anything else? Oh, I would just want to ask, are there any more comments from the public? The public is gone. And are any other concerns from anyone? I guess I would like to say formally again that I'm sorry that Lorraine Farina felt that she needed to resign. I will inform the mayor of the resignation. And anyway, if there's nothing else, we can have a motion to adjourn.
Do we want to send Lorraine a communication thanking her?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thanks for bringing that up. Do you want to, how should we do that? I mean, should I write a letter? You guys can look at it. Does someone else want to write the letter?
I think you should probably write it as chair, Emily.
Yeah,
Okay, all
probably.
right, so what should the deadline be? All right, I'll just
A little
make
lost.
it, yeah, 2 weeks or so, I don't know. I'll try to do it this week.
Yeah, we won't put a time frame on it, but yeah, yeah.
Better late, better sooner than later. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, so some of the action items I heard tonight was that we're going to continue to try to recruit CAC members. We are doing a letter on the anti-idling legislation in support. And we're going to look at the engagekingston.com to see if there's anything there. And Sebastian's going to look and see if there's a map of for the septic system situation. And that's all on the top of my head. So I can ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All
Okay.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, the meeting was adjourned at 8:38.
Yep, got it.
Thank you. And I guess we should thank Julie Noble for years and years of
Yeah.
of service. So sorry for doing that after we adjourned. So I think we can stop recording.